Welcome everyone to episode 14 of Cooking with Glenn, and if you read the title, you know today we're making pork chops. Now, I'm going to be preparing these a little interestingly, I guess you could say. We're going to season them up, we're going to bake them, and we're also going to create our sides, which today we're going to be doing some quinoa because I love me a good side of quinoa, and some spinach. Now, I know this says steam and bag, but we're going to put them all, in some pots and let it cook that way. Now, I do have my pork chops here, as you guys see. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start seasoning them while we wait for the oven to preheat. So what I want to do first is take some extra virgin olive oil. Any type of oil, I guess, would work. Because the way we want to season this, we want these to stay as tender as possible while we're cooking it. So we're just going to pour a little bit on there. I probably poured a little bit too much. But the seasonings we're going to be using today is I have a rib rack spice rub pork seasoning, and we're going to go and throw some Trader Joe's Barbecue 101 seasoning, just so it gives itself a little bit of a nice, flavorfulness. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to open up the cool, little sprinkly side of this. We're going to go ahead and start seasoning. Now, I would give you guys an overhead view, but pretty much all I'm doing right now is just kind of pouring the seasoning on it, and then we're going to flip it and then season the other side. With that being done, some seasoning's gonna fall off, but that's fine. We have enough seasoning here, and I want this to come out with a nice flavor on these pork chops. Normally with my pork chops, I do marinate them beforehand, but I realized, not knowing I was gonna do this video today, that I kind of ran out of the marinade that I would have liked to use. So we're gonna just kind of dry rub season it, if you want to call it that, and allow it to be basically cooked that way. Now, I do like to get a nice little bit of seasoning on here. If you guys were wondering, this pork rub seasoning, the ingredients in here are spices, salt, garlic powder, dehydrated onion, onion powder, chipotle pepper, and that's pretty much it. It's very nice, it's very simple. And then the same with this barbecue rub. We have some dried brown sugar, some smoked paprika, some roasted garlic, some dried red chili pepper, salt, dried onion, and black pepper. So these pork chops, when they're done, are gonna have a nice flavor to them. Now, this barbecue seasoning is definitely not really working in my favor right now because it's kind of getting stuck, and it's funny because it's not even old. So there we go. Just had to shake it up a little bit. So we're gonna wait for that oven to preheat. I'm gonna get back to you guys then, and we will go from there. Now, as we're waiting for the oven to heat up, I wanted to start preparing my sides just to kind of be productive about it. We're going to use the back pot for the quinoa because there's not a lot, and it's funny with how much it looks like there's not left. This is going to actually prepare a decent amount of quinoa because it always surprises me, and we'll use the first pot for the spinach. Now, I don't really ever wait for this to boil. I like my quinoa a little on the softer side, and we can just start pouring that in just to prepare it. Quinoa is very easy to cook, and you get a lot out of it, and it's one of the most healthiest grains you can have. Quinoa in itself has a decent amount of protein, decent amount of carbohydrates, you have some iron, some potassium, and you have your dietary fiber in here. It's an ancient grain. It's one of my favorite ones. I'm happy that it has become popular over the last couple years and easy to obtain. Now, we'll start pouring some of the spinach into the first pot just because, vegetables don't really need to be cooked, but we're going to wait and, obviously let them defrost, let them warm up, and then it's going to be easy going from there. Okay, the oven is done preheating, so now we're going to go back. We're going to take our pork chops. Probably want to open the oven first just so I can handle this properly. But look at these bad boys. These are going to taste so good. What we're going to do, we'll put them in the oven. And we're going to cook them pretty much at 425 for about, I'll say about 15 minutes. They're thin cut, so they shouldn't take that long to cook. You want to make sure your pork hits an internal temperature of, I believe, about 145 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to come back when this is all ready, all done, and see what creations we've made today. Now I'm going to show you guys one little food hack I like doing with quinoa, because quinoa has a very bland taste. And I usually love to add some kind of sauce to it to make it a little different. So Sweet Baby Ray's actually has a dipping sauce called Ray's Secret Sauce. And this kind of is very much a zesty kind of equivalent to Burger King's zesty sauce. So I don't like to fully drown out the quinoa, but what I like to do is just kind of put a little bit on here. And I know that may seem like a lot of squirts, but you'll see that when we start mixing this up in itself, it kind of just blends in very nice, and it ends up working and giving the quinoa a nice flavor, you know, because naturally it would just absorb the flavor that is coming within the Ray's special dipping sauce. Now, mixing sauce with the quinoa might not be for everyone, but it is something I've been doing for a few years. It might, you know, add some extra little bits of sodium, but the sauce itself doesn't really have coherently or inherently anything bad to it. But I just wanted to show you guys that because it is something I do like to do with the quinoa. Alright guys, so the pork chops are done. We got everything plated up. Let me show you guys how these came out. They look really nice, really juicy. So let's cut into it a little bit and let's see flavor-wise just how well we did with episode 14. Now, I know some of these things I did here were a little wonky, like putting the sauce in the quinoa, but that's just personal preference. Now, if you look, these pork chops are perfectly cooked through, really white, really seasoned all around, but what matters is how it tastes. So, the differences in the spices allows it to have such an interesting, complex flavor. And for the fact that we didn't overcook them, 425 at 15 minutes, these pork chops are still nice, tender, and juicy all the way through, just like I like my pork chops. Now let's take a look, see, make sure the spinach is fully done, which I'm almost positive it is. And my special quinoa that many of you are probably going to criticize in the comment section. So good. Now, everything here came out relatively nice. This was more of a simple dinner, a more, you know, put it together yourself type dinner, without necessarily doing anything relatively difficult. Now, I have a lot of friends that are always afraid to cook meat for some reason because they're afraid they're going to undercook it. But you can pretty much tell when meat is cooked, when it's cooked all the way through. If you wanted to use the thermometer, like I said, internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit, you're good. But pork, just like chicken, you know it's pretty much cooked when you have that white inside, which is pretty much the just go with all. Thin cut pork chops are very easy to cook. You can fry them, you could grill them. I like to bake mine just because you don't get all that excess oil and whatnot when you have to like pan fry. If I had a grill, I'd probably grill them. But overall, episode 14, I think really came out well. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. As always, thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. What do you want me to cook next? Leave your opinions down below. I'll catch you later, guys. Eat up, be healthy, be hearty, I guess, with a meal like this. And until next time, I'll see you later.